If you are somebody who starts things but fails to follow through much of the time, then first of all, welcome to that club. This is me. However, I have changed that about myself, and today I'm going to share how you can change that about yourself so that you can actually follow through and do the things that you want to do in this life. So, a little bit of a backstory. I created a program called Distraction to Action, and I just wrapped up the first live cohort of that group. I will link it below in case you're interested in looking at it. And on that call, we were talking about ways of following through, and we all shared situations in our lives where we followed through on something that was really hard, but we surprised ourselves by actually finishing it and identifying what it was that helped us to follow through. And I shared my secret sauce, which is putting skin in the game. I have done some pretty amazing things that I'm quite surprised I followed through on, like a fitness competition and a half Ironman triathlon and 2 university degrees. All things that I could have quit at any time. In fact, I would have saved a lot of time, money, and sweat equity had I quit, but I didn't. And for me, the reason that I followed through was that it was very much connected to my why, and I knew why it mattered. And I think especially if you have ADHD, this is something that's so important. There has to be an emotional connection to whatever it is you're trying to push through, because following through is so hard for us in the first place. The other reason I am able to follow through on things is when I put a lot of money into them. I wouldn't call myself a cheap person, but I am somebody who watches my funds. So when I put my money where my mouth is, you can be sure that I will follow through. Other things that people shared that worked for them was having somebody to do something with you. One gal in my group shared that she did a university program abroad, and she said she never would have been able to make it through it with a different language, living in a different place as a younger person with really bad ADHD, unless she had a friend there. She had somebody locally that she stayed with and that helped her out and really just gave her the strength and courage to follow through with that university degree. And a lot of people shared that that was also their secret sauce, that they could do anything as long as they didn't have to do it alone. And this comes back to the science behind body doubling. When you have the presence of somebody else in the room, it can make boring tasks that we don't want to do, move a lot quicker. Another trick that somebody shared was incentivizing the journey. So having small rewards after each milestone. And I thought this was really clever. So say, for example, you were trying to lose weight. This wasn't the example, but I'm going to use something easy. And your goal was to lose 30 pounds. At every 5-pound increment of weight that you've lost, you get yourself something, or whether it's a treat or a massage or a pair of shoes or something that would not only celebrate the small achievement that you've made, but also give you that incentive to keep moving forward, because we're really bad at celebrating our wins. Another girl shared her story of radical structure. And it started with really just accepting that she had ADHD and this was the way her brain worked. And when she was able to accept that and become aware of it just through basic learning and getting coaching, she could then start approaching the things she wanted to do in life in a way that worked for her, like getting support she needed, either through a virtual assistant or a partner on a project or anything that would alleviate the barriers that really kept her from moving forward, and also giving herself the accountability of knowing that she has an assistant who is now waiting for her to give her tasks to do. So she needed to organize what it is she did and what she wanted to take off her plate in order to make that happen. So lots of people see success with this, and it doesn't have to mean hiring an assistant. The idea behind it is externalizing your structure, where you have external triggers in your life that remind you to stay on track and that keep you moving forward. They're forcing functions in your life. So putting your pills beside your coffee maker is an easy example of that. I use Notion for a lot of my work-based external structure. The way I've set up my databases and just my daily workflow is all in Notion. So every day when I sit down at my desk, I open Notion to my landing page and I know exactly what I need to do. The fact that I do weekly planning sessions is also externalized radical structure for me. If I don't take time at the beginning of the week to plan out what needs to be done on what day, I just wing it. And that never works out right. So having radical structure in your life is really important. And that's going to look different for everybody. It depends on your circumstances, where you need the extra structure and support, and what is something that will capture your attention and isn't white noise, so that in the moment it has the ability to remind you. So the way that I like to approach this with my clients is that if you do want to work on following through, here's a few steps to follow. First of all, when you say yes to whatever it is you want to follow through on, whether you're signing up for a course or whatever it is, be very clear about why it is you're doing it and why it matters to you at that time. Because very often, I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to sign up for things, and then the time comes for me to do the thing, and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking when I signed up for the thing? So be very clear about your why. And that really takes a little bit of mindfulness in the moment to know why something is important to you and to be aware when you're committing to things. That's my challenge. So that's number one. Number two, ask yourself when you commit, is this something that I will probably follow through with no problem? Or is this something where I might be inclined to fall off the wagon? And identify at what point in your journey you think that might be. Is it at like 25%, 50%? Many ADHDers fall off around the 75 to 80% mark, because when you look at any sort of protracted project or event, there's the exciting point when you're starting something new and it can be really interesting. And then there can be the stimulation of it getting harder and harder or more challenging to push through. And that can be a motivator in and of itself. But once you get to that plateau part of like 75, 80%, where the rest of whatever it is you need to do is just mundane or repetitive, or you've done it before, it's not new, it's not sparkly, and you've kind of maybe forgotten your why, that's when we tend to poop out. So think about where in the process of your journey of this thing that you're committing to, where might you fall off, and what can you do to keep yourself on track? Can you gamify? Can you look for support? Can you get a body double? Can you ask somebody to do it with you? Can you make it fun? Can you think of ways to resparkleize it when it gets a little boring? Because we all know it's going to get a little boring. But anything worth doing and following through on definitely has to connect with you. It has to be important, and it has to matter, even if that's keeping you out of jail by doing your taxes when you're supposed to. And then finally, if you are somebody who struggles with follow through, ask yourself, when in the past have I followed through on something that was actually really hard to follow through with? And what was the reason why I was able to do it? Because that is a huge indication of what you can use in the future. And whatever that was, would you mind commenting below and sharing? Because I love expanding on these ideas and talking about what works for the ADHD brain so we can all benefit from it. And if you're interested in my distraction action program, again, that is linked below. And on that note, thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you in the next video.